Okay, great. So we can register new users and log in existing users, but nothing happens when we do that. So let's fix that. So remember, over here on the left, we have our current version. So we've gotten the login working, johnny@test.com, 123123. If I click login, we should see printed out down here, login was successful, but like I just said, nothing is happening. So what we want to have happen, let's take a look at our finished product, just to remind ourselves how we want this flow to go. So remember, when a user opens the app for the first time, they're not going to be authenticated. They won't have a Firebase user, but we still want them to be able to browse our products. So we want them to first land on main storyboard, and then in the top left, we are going to put a login, log out button that will take them to the login screens that we've been working on. So when we click on that, then we show the login screens. And then when we log in or register, we will dismiss the login view controllers and go back to the main storyboard as a logged in user. So let me go ahead and do that. See if this is a user over here. All right, perfect. So now when we come back, this switched to log out since we just logged in. And if I click on this, we're going to log out and go back to the login screen. So that is what we are going to be working on in this lesson. So let's get to it. The first thing that we are going to do is make it so that we are not launching the login screen immediately. Okay, we do want to stay in the main storyboard. So we're going to come to our viewcontroller.swift file here, and I'm going to rename this view controller. So I'm going to double click, right click, say refactor and rename. And we're going to rename this to HomeVC. And press enter, and now that should be renamed. You should also see it renamed over here in the file name as well. All right, so right now, upon the view appearing, we are automatically launching the storyboard. Like I said, that's not quite what we want, so we are going to extract this code here into a function that we are going to call present login controller. So we could create a new function, but in case you didn't know, you can also highlight the lines of code that we want to extract into a new method. You can right click, refactor, and say extract method. And that will extract that method. And right here, we can give it a name. So like I said, we're going to call this present login controller. And then we can remove that because we're not actually going to call that right there. And I'm going to put this down here. Now that might have actually been a little bit more time consuming than just creating a new function and cutting and pasting, but I just wanted to show you that little trick as well. All right, so we've extracted our method, and you can see here that by default it set it to file private, which is fine. And let's save that. And next thing we need is we need that button, right? So we need a way to launch our login controller. So let's go to our main.storyboard. And we haven't done anything in here yet. First thing I'm going to do is change this to view as iPhone XS. There we go. I just like how that looks better. And we're going to embed our home view controller in a navigation controller. So right down here, we click and say embed in navigation controller. There we go. I'm going to zoom out and whoops, just drag that right up there. That's good. Perfect. All right, now we need what is called a UI bar button item. So up here in our object library, I'm going to search for bar button item. Here we go. And if you just grab that and drag that over into your navigation bar, you can drop that in. And now we have a button that we can use to trigger actions in our view controller, just like a regular button in your view controller. All right, so let's go ahead and rename this. Here we have the title, and I'm going to call this login for now. And then we're going to need to go ahead and hook this up to our HomeVC. So I'm going to hold Option and click on HomeVC to open it up in our Assistant Editor. And then I'm going to go ahead and close our left pane, give us a little bit more room. And I'm going to do a couple of spaces here, do my little comment header for outlets, and I'm going to control and drag from that login button over to here, let go, and say log in out button is what we're going to name the outlet. So I'm going to say connect. And then we also need an IB action for this button. So I'm going to, again, control and drag, and this is an action. So I'm going to say log in out clicked, and then say connect. All right, very good. So I'm going to close our assistant editor, reopen our left pane, and go back to our HomeVC.swift file. And here under our action, what we want to have happen is when we click on it, if we are logged in, then we want to log out. If we're logged out, then we want to log in. For both of those, we are going to launch the login view controllers. So to know if we are currently logged in, we can check the Firebase auth class. It has a property called current user. And if there is a currently logged in user, then that will have a value. If it's nil, then we are not logged in at all. Okay, so we can just say if let auth, and we're going to need to import Firebase. So we'll say if let auth dot current user, and as you see that was optional, which is why we are using if let. So if there is one, I should say if let user is equal to auth.auth. So if there is a user, then we are going to, then that means that we are logged in. So I'll write a comment here. We are logged in, or I guess I should put that inside. So if there's a user, then we are logged in which case we want to log out. So to do that, we again use the auth class, and we can say auth.sign out, okay? And you can see here that it says that it throws. So we are going to need to safely try this in a do catch block. So I'm going to say do, then I'm going to say try auth.sign out. And if it throws an exception, then we are just going to print that out here. Debug print error dot localized description. And like this warning says here, user was never actually used, so we can just do a underscore there. This is actually all going to change quite a bit in the next few lessons. You guys are going to hate me for it, but we're going to also be implementing anonymous users, and a lot of the login flow is going to change. So just a heads up. So if we are logged in, then we log out and present the login controller. Else, we're going to present the login controller regardless. Present login controller if we are not logged in. All right, so that's looking real good. And then we need to handle the title of the login and out button. So we're going to do that here in view did appear. Remember, view did appear, unlike view did load, is called every single time that the view appears. View did load, in contrast, is only called once upon the view instantiation, okay? So here in view did appear, every time that it loads, we are going to do a check, just like we did here. So I'm just going to copy this actually, paste it here. We're going to do a check if we're logged in, and we don't need this though. And all we're going to do is say login out button dot set, or a title. Nope, not tint. Title is equal to, so if we're logged in, then the title is going to be log out. And if we're logged out, then the title is going to be log in. There we go. So I'm going to save that. And that should be good to go here. Got a couple of things that we need to do in our login view controller and register view controllers, because like I said, right now we're not doing anything once we log in. So let's change that. Here where we were saying login was successful, let's go ahead and dismiss this view controller. Okay, so we're going to say self.dismiss, true, completion, nil. Okay, so we are going to be here in the login storyboard, and we're going to dismiss, we're calling dismiss view controller. Now you may think that if we were in register view controller and we call dismiss view controller, that we would dismiss to the login VC right here. However, remember we are in a navigation controller. If we wanted to programmatically go from register view controller to login view controller, we would call pop. If we say dismiss view controller, then we are actually dismissing the entire navigation controller, in which case all of these views will be dismissed. And in this case, that's what we want. We want to exit the login storyboard and go back to our main storyboard. Okay, so in login VC, we are dismissing. And in register VC, we are also going to dismiss. Self.dismiss, animated is true, completion is nil. Let's save that and run it and test it out. All right, so far so good. Whereas before we immediately launched into the login screen. Right now we are in the main and we have our button here at the top. Now you may be confused why this is saying log out, but recall that previously we have been logging in, we just haven't been doing anything. And the beauty of Firebase authentication is that it handles user persistence for you. You don't have to worry about using NSUser defaults or some other method of doing checks to see whether the user was logged in before, and if so, then keep them logged in. Firebase handles that all for us. So if we were logged in a previous session, even if you closed the app and you come back in, Firebase takes care of that for us. So it knew that we were previously logged in. So this is saying log out. So if I click on this, we'll say log out. Ooh, there we go. We launch our login view controller as expected. Let's try logging in. Johnny at test.com 123123. Click login. And once we log in, perfect. We come back here and this now says log out. Love it. All right, so let's try creating a new user and testing that as well. Put in our username, Johnny at johnny.com 123123, and register. We get our spinner and beautiful. All right, so this is working perfectly. So just to recap what we did here, we set up our home view controller to have our login and out button so that we can, dynamically handle logging in and out. We talked a little bit about how Firebase wonderfully keeps track of the user's persistence so that we don't have to worry about that at all. If we were logged in a previous session, we'll still be logged in when we reopen the app. And we talked about how to sign out from a authenticated state. All right, so hope you enjoyed this lesson. In the next lessons, we're going to be talking about anonymous login, and we're going to be changing up quite a bit of our login flow that we've already created. All right, so I will see you in the next one.